EcoAction Arlington is pleased to launch our Pollinators and Plants from Bees to Trees, Our Earth Needs Bees series. Through the series, we are focusing on the critical importance of tree canopy and pollinators and how each of these play a role in protecting our natural world, food systems, and human health. To kick off the Pollinators and Plant series and to celebrate the bounty of the fall harvest, we have created this Making an Apple Pie video, working in partnership with the Virginia Cooperative Extension Master Food Volunteers. In this video, you will learn how to make an apple pie, as well as information about apples available from local Virginia farmers. Please enjoy.
Hi, my name is Aisha Salazar, and I am with Virginia Cooperative Extension. I am the Family Consumer Sciences Agent for Arlington and Alexandria. Virginia Cooperative Extension is part of Virginia State University and Virginia Tech. We're the outreach and educational arm of the university and provide education in the community. One of our programs is the Massacre Food Volunteer Program, and this is a program where we provide education to the community on cooking, nutrition, and health education. We really support programs that provide information on sustainability and shopping local from local farmers markets, and also support organic and integrated pest management systems to help our pollinators and our environment. Our volunteers today are going to provide a recipe for you featuring locally grown apples. Those are apples that are usually grown within 125 to 150 miles from the region where you're shopping. You can find apples usually between July and early November at your local market, but because they're kept in cold storage, you'll actually find them during the winter months as well. We hope you enjoy this recipe, try it out with your friends and family, and let us know what you think.
Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Nancy, and we're Master Food Volunteers with the Virginia Cooperative Extension.
And today we're going to be making vegan apple pie. We're lucky in this Northern Virginia region to have a number of farmers markets and farmers from around the area who have lots of different kinds of apples, different varieties of apples. Nancy, what are your favorite kinds of apples to use when baking?
Well, when I'm making a pie, I like to mix at least two kinds of apples. One red apple, because they tend to be a little sweeter, and one green or yellow apple, because they're often a little more tart. You get better depth of flavor when you have that mix.
Okay. So this is a vegan pie. We're making vegan pie dough. Why don't you tell us about that?
So the pie dough we're making today uses oil instead of butter. That makes both a healthier pie and one where the dough comes together a little quicker and more easily. So, one of the things people often ask is, how do I know how much crust to make? I have different pie pans. One is maybe bigger, one is maybe smaller. I always like to make sure that I have plenty of pie crust. As long as you have extra, you can always put it in the freezer or make cookies out of it.
You can make several different kinds of pie with this dough. You can roll the dough out in a large circle and place the sliced apples around it, and then just fold up about an inch or inch and a half of crust around the edges to make a crostata, which can be easier for feeding a large crowd. You can also make a slab pie by rolling the dough in a rectangle and using a quarter sheet pan or similar rectangular pan. And you probably would want to put a lattice top on that. Or you can make a single crust apple pie and top it with some of the same things you would use to top an apple crisp.
Sounds good. Let's get started with the dough.
All right. So I've already measured out my ingredients. We're going to start with 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.5 cups of spelt flour. The reason I like to use spelt flour is that it has less gluten, so it will make a little bit more tender pie crust. If you don't have spelt flour, you can use all-purpose flour. We're going to add in 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, and mix that together to get all your dry ingredients mixed well.
With your fingers there?
I like to use my hands when I'm making a pie crust. You know, fewer things to wash, and
sure,
you just feel how it's going. Okay, now I have 1/2 cup plus 1 tablespoon of, in my case, canola oil. It can be any kind of vegetable oil that you like to use. And 1/2 cup of water. And we're just going to mix this only until the dough comes together. One of the keys with making pie crust, whether you're making a butter crust or an oil crust, is that you don't want to over mix it. You want to mix it just until it comes together.
Got it.
So you're going to just kind of clean around the sides of the bowl with your hand.
Okay.
Knead it a couple times. We don't want to develop gluten. And now we're going to let this dough rest for half an hour. It does not need to be in the refrigerator like a butter dough. It just needs to rest. I've got a clean countertop, and I'm going to just put it on the counter, turn the bowl over right on top of it. That way I don't need to use plastic wrap. Now that I've got the dough made, I've preheated my oven to 400 degrees. And I put a sheet pan on the rack on the bottom third of the oven, and that's going to do two things. One is it's going to catch any spillover, and second, it's going to help heat that crust from the minute I put it in the oven so that we don't have the dreaded soggy bottom. All right, I like to peel apples when I'm making an apple pie, and I think we're going to need probably 6 of these apples at this size for the pie we're making today.
Okay, let's get started.
Yeah.
It's been about a half an hour. We've cut our apples and we're ready to roll out our dough.
We are. So I have this nice mat for rolling out dough. If you don't have one, you can just roll it right on a clean counter. So this dough is enough for a 2-crust pie. We're going to cut it so that one half is a little bit bigger than the other because the bottom crust needs to be a little bigger. Put a little bit of flour on our cutting board just so that it doesn't stick. You don't need much. And here we go. We're going to roll it out. You tend to roll from the middle to the outside. And every here and there you want to pick it up and flip it over to make sure it's not sticking.
Got it.
Okay?
How do you know how much to roll that? How do you know how big to make that crust?
So you want to make the crust about 1 inch bigger than the top diameter of your pie pan.
Got it.
You want to be sure it's rolled thin enough also. You want it about 1/8 of an inch thick. So you roll from the middle out and you roll kind of in eighths. So side by side, up and down, diagonal, diagonal.
And does it have to be perfectly round?
It does not. You're going to trim the excess anyway. So this is about as thin as I want the crust. So we're going to take the pie pan, make sure it's big enough. Looks like it is. I'm going to obviously have to patch a little here, but that's fine. So we're going to come underneath here.
Gonna gently release it
Pull
from
it up.
the mat.
Yes. Onto your hand. Put it into the pie plate. Just get it around. And then if you need to patch it a little, no big deal. It's a very forgiving dough.
So we're gonna roll out the top crust, and we haven't prepared these cut apples yet.
We don't want to prepare the apples until we're ready to put them into the crust. As soon as you put the sugar into the apples, they're going to start releasing liquid. One of the keys to making sure that you don't have a soggy bottom crust is to make sure that as soon as the apples start letting off liquid, you're in the oven as soon as possible. You're getting that bottom crust cooked as quickly as possible, and that's going to get you a nice crisp crust. So I've got a little extra crust over there, not quite enough over here. I'm just going to cut and paste.
Fill those little
Fill
holes.
those little gaps.
Got it.
Right, and then the rest of it we'll take care of later.
So we're going to roll out that other piece right now.
Set that aside. Roll out this other piece. You want to get this. So you have to cut some little holes for venting. You can make them decorative. I usually use little cookie cutters for this, but I'm trying not to use too many things that other people might not have.
Oh, take from here.
And the reason for this is to let steam out. Again, keep your pie from getting soggy. There we go. Okay.
So we have our bottom crust and our top crust all ready, and now it's filling time.
Yes, I don't like to mix all the filling ingredients together until we're ready to put it into the crust, because as soon as you put the sugar in the apples, they're going to start releasing some moisture. And we want to get the crust cooking as soon as possible, so we're going to avoid the soggy bottom. So I've put in some sugar, some cinnamon, a little bit of lemon juice to brighten up the flavor, a little bit of salt, because that really brings out the flavors also, a little bit of flour as a thickener, and I like to add some cranberries.
Ah, that's kind of festive. It adds another little pop of flavor.
It adds
color.
A pop of flavor and some color, and again, you don't need to mess up a spoon. As long as your bowl is big enough, you've got plenty of room. Just give it a good mix with clean hands, one of my best kitchen tools.
And we kind of need to work a little fast here, right?
Well, we don't want to dally, and we can cut the apples up ahead of time, but we cannot mix the other ingredients into them until we are ready to put it into the pie crust. Okay. All right, this is well mixed now. Right. The cinnamon and sugar and salt are all mixed around. We're going to just put it right into the pie crust. Whoops.
Get all these guys in.
Yeah, nice full pie. They're going to cook down a little, so it may look really high right now, but it will go down a little bit while it bakes.
Got it. Get that.
Okay, I'm going to give my hands a quick rinse, and then we're going to put on the top crust. Okay, so we're going to just carefully, again, pull up the crust, place it over the pie. And again, I made these little slits in it so that some steam can escape. We're going to press the edges down all around
to seal
it, because we do want it sealed. Then we're going to take our knife and cut off all of this excess crust. Okay, now we're going to take a fork, just do a couple of quick little decorative
to really finish it on the
really
edges.
Finish the edge. That's right. Okay, now we're going to do a quick brush with just a little bit of water. Just want a little bit on there, mainly because we're going to sprinkle it with a little sugar to give it some shine.
So that sugar is a nice decorative touch right at the end.
Exactly. It gives it a little shine. Again, because we don't have butter in it, it's not going to be as shiny as it would be if it were a butter crust, or if we had put a little bit of egg wash over it. That's one of the things that happens with a vegan pie. But there we go. We're ready to go now.
So into the oven.
And into the oven.